name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we're going to be showing you how to play a game that is coming to Kickstarter called Vengeance, Roll, and Fight.
Yes, this one's designed by 3 different designers, Dávid Turczi, Noralie Lubbers, and Gordon Calleja, and it's published by Mighty Boards. Like Monique said, this is coming to Kickstarter very, very soon. And this is a roll and write, but roll and fight kind of game where we are basically going to be traversing different rooms and trying to defeat enemies and trying to score the most points.
And ultimately defeat your boss. And so this is a roll and write game that is set in the world of a previous game called Vengeance by the same name and same publisher. And also very much in the same vein of a game, I suppose, just translated to a roll and write. And so before we begin, we do want to mention that this is technically a prototype copy of the game, so things are subject to change in the final copy.
So if you are interested in this game, there will be a link in the description below. You can check that out. And if you'd like to see content like this in the future, please consider subscribing.
And with that, we are going to get started. So if you please direct your attention to the center of the table, we're all set up here for our 2-player game of Vengeance, Roll, and Fight. And so just to kind of give you the lay of the land, each player, as you can tell, has 2 different sheets. You have the room, the large den. This is what it's called. The entire area is your den. These are the different rooms that are all separated by doors, as you can see the dashed lines. And so our meeple is going to start where it says start, and we're going to be going around in these different rooms, defeating the henchmen that are present in them in order to score points. On the right-hand side over here, we have our character sheet that basically holds all of our stats and is basically kind of like a controller. We have items here. We can gain abilities that will help us do all of this better. And so like we were mentioning, in this game, we're going to be rolling dice each round in order to try to assign them to different abilities that'll allow us to move into different rooms and attack henchmen. And so what we're going to do is we're basically going to teach the rules by playing through one round.
There are several different ways that players earn points throughout the game, and at the end of 4 rounds, whoever has the most points wins.
The game actually comes with a few of these den sheets that are double-sided, that have all different asymmetric dens that you can kind of mix and match whenever you play. And so I'm playing as the purple player, and I am Johnny Silverhand. And so each character has their own kind of asymmetric and negative attribute that makes the game just a little bit more difficult for you.
Right.
And so for me, it says if I hit 2 or more enemies in the same room without moving, I take a wound, which is a bad thing. We also have a random boss. So I have Don Zimun over here, and it says every tough guy, which is the green henchman, in the den must be killed before I can hit this boss, which means every single green circle that you see in my den must be eliminated first before I go after that person.
All right, me as the green player, I am Little Gudrun, and my negative ability is you must use at least 1 double knife symbol to activate a punch, and that'll make sense in a little bit. So that's not that good. Okay. And then the boss that I'm trying to defeat or go up against is Vuk the Bear. And it says, during evaluation, Vuk the Bear deals 1 wound to adjacent rooms and 2 wounds to his own.
Wow.
So if you are in the same room or adjacent to Vuk at the end of a round, you could take wounds, and that'll make sense in a second.
And so at the start of each round, somebody is going to roll the preparation dice, which are these 3 dice over here. And then you're going to place them in the 3 squares over here that indicate the preparation actions everybody's allowed to take before we actually go and roll and fight, etc. Think of this as you're going on this run to defeat, bad guys in movies and action movies or something. And this is a part where you have to prepare yourself. You're getting your gear, etc. And so each type of symbol allows you to do a different action. So we're just going to briefly go over them. The upward arrow symbol allows you to gain 2 towards your abilities over here. And so each player has their own asymmetric hand of abilities, and they all cost a certain number of these circles. And the cost is listed at the top right-hand corner of each card. So this one's going to cost 4 circles worth of this abilities track. And so each time you spend 1 arrow, you can outline 2 circles per arrow. So once I have acquired 4 of those, then I'll be able to put that ability into play. Additionally, at the end of the game, if you are able to outline circles all the way to the right over here, then you'll get points equal to whatever the leftmost exposed circle here is. Which means if you are able to circle your abilities all the way up to the 1 here, then you're going to score 2 points, because that is the leftmost not outlined circle. Hearts let you replenish your health by either removing 2 wounds or by increasing your health capacity by outlining the next square here. The brass knuckle symbol allows you to charge one of your items. Each player has their own 4 items, and you can place them in certain spots depending on how many times you think you're going to need to use it. So this first spot here allows you to use it up to 4 times, and then as you go to the right, fewer and fewer.
Yep.
And so taking that action allows you to essentially give yourself 1 capacity of one of the items. The diamond stands for loot, and so each player has their own prestige track over here. Each time you use a loot symbol, you can either take one of the other actions, or you can cross off the leftmost spot here. And so if at the end of the game you're able to cross off enough of these spots, then you'll get points for your prestige track. And lastly, we have the binoculars that allows you to recon. And so for the next phase, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be assigning these dice to our different actions as well as abilities in order to do things in our den. These different abilities cost a certain combination of die faces. And so if you are maybe unsure of whether or not you'll be able to roll those dice, then you can recon by spending the binocular symbol to cross off one up arrow. So these first three abilities here only have one up arrow symbol. Abilities that have this double up arrow symbol here require two binocular symbols in order to activate it. If I had this activated during the next phase, I'm not allowed to assign any dice here, but I can automatically take that action during the action phase.
Yep.
And so once each player has used all three of these preparation dice, then they may also take one optional action that's basically any of those four basic actions that we just discussed. Once everyone's done taking the preparation actions, then we go into the rolling phase, which is supposed to be done simultaneously. And so each player starts with 4 of these action dice, these fight dice.
Yep.
And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be rolling them in order to assign them to the different basic abilities as well as the abilities that you've acquired throughout the game in order to take these actions.
Right.
So you're going to be assigning sets of these dice. So for example, this dash ability allows me to take one move action, but it requires me to have 2 runners. So once we start rolling, then I'm going to roll all 4 of these dice. And I did it. I have 2 runners right here. So I can say, okay, I'm going to assign both of these dice right there. And then I can re-roll the other 2 that are in my pool. If anytime I have less than 4 dice, I can take dice from the supply in order to have a total of 4 to re-roll. So the only symbol that you cannot re-roll is a wound, or essentially a droplet symbol. Those cannot be re-rolled. You must assign your dice before you can re-roll that one. So right now I'm showing 2 knives and a runner, and both of these are double knives. Double knives can be used in place of single knives, but not vice versa. And some actions require you to roll specifically a double knife. So I may choose to go for this punch ability by saving these 2 and then re-rolling this die. But the only other rule that you have to know before we actually start doing this is if ever you have multiple of these droplet symbols, like let's just say I was unlucky and I have 3 of them, then I can choose to assign one of these to my health track here in order to re-roll all of the droplets. But this is going to gain me a wound. And so I think we are ready to just dive in and start rolling.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Ready?
Yes.
Set?
Yes.
Go. Okay. Ooh, we've got the knives.
Go there.
So 2 knives and a double knife. I'm going to re-roll these.
Ooh, 2 blood droplets. No.
We have, let's go.
So I'm going to assign this here.
Darn. Okay, I'm going to hold on to the runner and re-roll these.
Redo these.
We have, here we go, 2 runners. Let's re-roll these 2. These
the
2.
blood drop.
This is chaos.
Come on, I need a knife.
Okay.
Knife. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Oh, no,
because
we
I
have
assigned
droplet.
that. Now I get to
Okay,
take
gun,
4.
knife. So I can re-roll the droplet. 2, 3, 4.
Okay. I can assign this right here.
Darn.
Knife, gun, runner, and then because of that, I can take these. Oh, well, this is dead. So
runner.
Roll this.
I'm going to roll that one.
I'm just going to roll this. Okay,
Knife, runner.
I got my gunner right
No.
there. Okay.
Knife, runner. Oh my gosh. I can't stop rolling a runner. Okay, there we go. Knife. So I'm just going to do a second set for the punch. And I can technically re-roll that, but nothing takes just 1. And
so that might have looked a little chaotic,
display.
but we'll talk it through as to what exactly happened there.
So I did not try to roll for my ricochet because if you remember from my recon action, I was able to recon that. So I'm going to be able to do this no matter what. I was able to activate 1 dash, 2 punches, and a fire.
Yes, and for me, I was able to activate a dash, a punch, and a charge, and then I assigned 1 gun to my loud bang because that is what was needed.
Nice, just the 1 symbol, huh?
Just 1 symbol, yeah. All
right, so now we're going to execute these abilities. And what we're going to be doing is our goal is to try to meet our objectives, which are in these black boxes, and they are asymmetric. They differ from den to den.
Right.
And so we're going to go over those in a second. We're trying to score points by collecting loot for our prestige track, and we're trying to hit our boss because at the end of the game, we're going to get points for how much damage we were able to inflict or 5 points for just completely eliminating the boss, which is even better.
Yep.
So just so you have an idea as to what the objectives look like, I have an objective down here that'll get me 6 points for eliminating 3 of these red henchmen. If I'm able to eliminate 3 of them and I find myself entering this room, then I can automatically cross off that objective and score those 6 points at the end of the game.
Yep.
This objective here says I get 6 points for eliminating greens and yellow henchmen that are in adjacent rooms. So remembering that adjacency has to do with the dashed lines here, so none of these count, even though there aren't any green or yellow in there.
Right.
So I'm going to start by taking my dash action, which gives me 1 move action. When you move, you can move to 1 adjacent space, and that's it. Yep. That's my move action.
You did it.
So these go into the supply. The one rule, though, is if you have one of these yellow henchmen in the space that you're trying to leave from,
yes,
you have to eliminate them before you can move out of that space. Next, I'm going to do my punch ability, which lets me do either 1 hit or 2 hits. If I was able to put at least one of these double knives assigned to this ability, then I can hit twice. And so I actually assigned 2 sets of these, both with double knives, so I have a total of 4 hits, which
nice.
I think I'm going to need to use all of.
Right.
Because 1 hit eliminates each henchman, so I can eliminate these 2 right here for 1 hit each. With the exception of the green henchman, which require 2 hits. I'm going to use my last 2 to eliminate that 1 green henchman.
Right. The first hit was to kind of weaken it. The second one was to eliminate it.
Yes. So that was these 6 dice here. Next, let's talk about shooting. So shooting allows you to hit a henchman that's in an adjacent room. You cannot shoot somebody who's in the room that you're in.
Right.
So this is great because I have 1 shot action here and my ricochet gives me 1 hit, which I'm going to waste, plus 2 shot actions. And you must do it in that order. So let's do the ricochet first. I skip the hit because there's nobody there, but I do 2 shot actions, eliminating 2 of these red henchmen, which is good for completing this objective.
Nice.
So then I'm going to erase that because I've used its ability. And now I can take just a single shot action with this fire ability by eliminating the 3rd red henchman. And so not only am I completing this objective, but at the end of the game, we're going to draw a line from wherever our meeple is to the starting point of our den.
Yep.
And any space that has a henchman that was not eliminated is going to be minus 1 point.
Right. So because you visited this area, you also have to cross that out. So that way we can keep track as to where you've been.
Yes. And so those were all of my abilities. And so it is over to you.
That's true, but you do have an asymmetric negativity.
Oh, no.
So go ahead and read that.
I forgot.
Yes.
I am Johnny Silverhand. If you hit 2 or more enemies in the same room without moving, take a wound. So I did. I eliminated all 3 of these
henchmen. You took out a lot of people, but
just
you got
willy-nilly. So now I must take a wound. And whenever you take a wound, you cross off one of the droplets here that is in your health track.
Right.
If ever you run out of droplets, then you take a beating, which requires you to cross off the left space here, limiting your ability to assign dice. So now, if I were to take a beating, the next round I can only have a maximum of 3 dice in my personal supply to assign.
Yeah.
So
it's really problematic. You don't want that to happen.
If I were to take a second beating, then my character actually dies and I am out of the game. So there is technically player elimination here, but it seems to be quite rare.
Because there's only 4 rounds, it's fairly rare for that to happen.
Yes. So just 1 wound for me. Now it's back to you.
Okay, so to me, now Monique resolved everything from left to right. You do not have to do that. You can resolve this action, this action, this action. It doesn't really matter. So it just kind of worked out that way for her. So for me, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to resolve this. Well, first of all, I took a wound in the way I rolled. So this now I can go ahead and say I have an injury there.
Yeah.
So before I forget that. I'm going to do this action first, which is charge. So this means I must move and then hit. So I'm going to move into this room.
Okay.
And then I will assign a hit. And let's go ahead and just assign a hit to this person right there.
So now they're no longer blocking you.
They're no longer blocking. So if I want to move out, which I possibly want to do with this move action, I can do that. The next thing I can do here is punch. And so my negative character ability says you must use at least 1 double knife in order to even activate punch. So if I rolled 3 singles, even though that's technically an activation for all other characters, for me, I must find myself to a double knife. So I kind of dodged that problem right there. So I was able to do it. So I will do a henchman hit 1 and a hit 2.
And I know we've been using this term kind of willy-nilly, but only the red minions are considered henchmen.
Right.
All the other colors have different names, like the yellow ones are blockers, the greens are tough guys, the blue ones are gunmen, and the black ones are grunts.
Grunts, yep.
So they're all minions.
They're all minions, yes.
Yeah.
So because I visited this room, I am going to cross this off. And the next thing I'm going to do is I will do my dash, which is going to allow me to move out of here. So let's move into this section here. So I'm going to leave that red henchman behind. And so there's no confusion. We move all the dice to the supply. And then I will do my one ability here that I activated. And this says loud bang. So what it says is I take a wound. Most likely my ears hurt. And then it's a double hit. So hit. So what that means is I could either assign the 2 hits to these 2 grunts, or I can assign 2 of these hits to this green tough guy. And so I'm going to assign it to the green one. And because I visited here, I have to mark that.
Now, I also had an item here that I could have used, which is stims, which allows me to do one move action, because had I ended my turn in this space that has a diamond symbol, then I would take a loot at the end of my turn. And taking a loot essentially allows me to do one of those preparation actions, or I can cross off the leftmost available space on the prestige track. So that at the end of the game, I can potentially score up to maximum 11 points. We mentioned the objectives. If you ever enter a room and the objective has been met, you can cross that off. And then at the end of the game, that'll be able to score you points. Once you enter the room that your boss is in, then you can start attacking the boss as long as you don't have a barrier according to the boss itself. Each boss has a certain amount of life that you start the game with. So my boss has 4 health, which corresponds to their hit track at the bottom of the den over here.
And mine right here has a total of 6 health, which corresponds to this 5 hit points for.
At the end of the round, each visited and cleared room that has a loot symbol on it allows you to take one of those preparation actions or cross off the space on your prestige track. Now, you don't actually have to be in the room at the time of collecting that loot. You just have to have visited it at some point and cleared it. Then each player also takes a wound for every henchman, which is a red minion, as well as the boss that is in the same room as you, as well as any gunmen who are in adjacent and in the same room as you. Now, I didn't actually end my turn here, but if I had, then I would have taken a wound because of that gunman. And then you set up and the round begins again. After the 4th round, then you go into endgame scoring, and then players score points by adding up the number of points earned from their prestige track, their abilities track, if they're able to outline enough circles to get all the way over here, the boss's hit points, depending on how many times you're able to hit the boss, an additional 5 points if you're able to eliminate the boss, points earned from each of these objectives that you're able to meet, and last but not least, players will draw a line from wherever their character is in their den to the start point, and any space that has a minion that wasn't removed is minus 1 point. And whoever has the most points at that point wins. And so that is essentially how you play Vengeance, Roll, and Fight. There is a solo mode to the game, I believe. And the game comes with several dens, like we were mentioning, that are asymmetric. So there are a variety of ways that you can continue to replay it.
So like we said, this game is on Kickstarter currently. If you are interested in it, there is a link in the description below. If you do have any questions about this game, please feel free to leave a comment down below and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thank you all so much for watching.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.